Shalom, my friends. Today I want to talk to you about Ezekiel's wheels. Everyone has always enjoyed the idea that Ezekiel was looking at UFOs, a wheel within a wheel. We're talking about the book of Ezekiel. That's Yechezkel, chapter 1. And it came to be in the 30th year, in the 4th month, on the 5th of the month, as I was among the exiles by the river Kevar. The Shamayim were opened, and I saw visions of Elohim. On the 5th of the month, in the 5th year of sovereign Jehoiachin's exile, the word of Yahweh came expressly to Yechezkel, the Cohen. Cohen is the word for priest. The son of Buzi, in the land of the Kasdites by the river Kevar, and the hand of Yahweh came upon him there. Verse 4, And I looked and saw a whirlwind coming out of the north, a great cloud with fire flashing itself, and brightness was all around it, and out of its midst, like glowing metal, out of the midst of the fire, and out of the midst of it came what looked like 4 living creatures, and this was their appearance. They had the likeness of a man, and each one had 4 faces, and each one had 4 wings. You know, if you get into my study on the book of Revelation, I have a playlist on my channel covering the entire book verse by verse. We see creatures like this, as well as elsewhere in the Father's Word. Verse 7, And their feet were straight feet, and the soles of their feet were like the sole of a calf's foot, and they sparkled like the appearance of polished bronze. That should say copper. There was no bronze back then. Bronze is an alloy, a man-made mixture. That should be copper. Verse 8, And under their wings and on their 4 sides were the hands of a man, and each of the 4 had faces and wings. Their wings touched one another. They did not turn when they went, but each one went straight forward. You know, you don't want to try and figure out what Ezekiel was seeing here. These are beings from the Shamayim. We'll find out about them later. Verse 9 again, their wings touched one another. They did not turn when they went, but each one went straight forward. And the likeness of their faces, the face of a man, and each of the 4 had the face of a lion on the right side, and each of the 4 had the face of an ox on the left side, and each of the 4 had the face of an eagle. Such were their faces. Their wings were spread upward. 2 of each touched one another, and 2 covered their bodies. And each one went straight forward, going wherever the Spirit was to go, and they did not turn when they went. And the likeness of the living creatures, their appearance was like burning coals of fire, and like the appearance of torches moving back and forth among the living creatures. And the fire was bright, and out of the fire went lightning, and the living creatures ran back and forth like the appearance of a flash of lightning. And I looked at the living creatures and saw a wheel on the earth beside each living creature with its 4 faces. The appearance of the wheels, that's the word we're going to study here in a minute. The appearance of the wheels and their works was like the appearance of beryl, and all 4 had the same form. The appearance of their works was, as it were, a wheel in the middle of a wheel. When they went in any one of 4 directions. They did not turn aside when they went. And their rims were high and awesome, and on it goes. Wheels. You know, the Western way of thinking, I've explained this in other videos. I'll put a link at the end of this video to the videos I've made that talk about this. The Western way of thinking is linear, and it focuses on appearance of things. Yahuwah's way, the way of Kadam, back to the source, back to the beginning, the way is cyclical. And it focuses not on appearance, but on function. For example, the Western way of thinking, a man is walking down a pathway, and there's a tree. He sees the tree, he walks past the tree. The tree is now in his past. It's gone. It's over with. You're never going to walk past that tree again. Forget about the tree. It's not in his sight. It doesn't appear to him. Yahuwah's way of thinking is cyclical. Man is walking down a path. He sees a tree. He keeps walking. Yahuwah brings him around. Again, he sees the tree. He goes around. Again, he sees the tree. He keeps walking. He goes around. Cyclical. He sees the tree. Each time he sees the tree, he sees something different about the tree. He starts learning about the tree. It's the same way with parents and children. You teach your child something over and over and over again. Repetition. How many times have I told you this, right? This is how Elohim teaches us over and over and over. He makes the point over and over and over again. Repetition brings revelation. Repetition brings new revelation. So this is important to understand. Yahuwah's Moedim. Most people think of them as the Jewish feasts. For example, Passover. The Hebrews practice Passover every year. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. Thousands of years. Over and over again. Repetitive. Cyclical. Every year. The Father was teaching them about his plan for Mashiach, the Messiah. Everything of creation operates in cycles. Our earth, the seasons, the solar system, days, weeks, months, years. Yahweh has cycles. He has cycles within cycles. The earth goes around the sun inside of the solar system. The solar system goes around the Milky Way, we think. Milky Way goes around something else. Jubilee is 7 weeks of years, 49 years. Inside that cycle is a week of years, a 7-year cycle. Inside of that, there are other cycles, every 7 days, a Shabbat, and so on. If you mess up one of the inner cycles, one of the inner wheels, if you will, you mess up the outer, bigger cycle, and that messes up the greater cycle. Yahweh, in the book of Ezekiel, tells Ezekiel, take this vision to the rebellious house of Yisrael, Israel. Why does he say they are rebellious? Because Israel was ignoring Yahweh's cycles. They were messing up his plan of order and harmony, messing up what he was trying to teach them. Things grow in cycles. A seed is planted. A plant emerges. A blossom emerges. The blossom is what the tzitzit are all about, the tassels that Hebrews wear on the corners of their garments. From the blossom, fruit emerges with the same seed in it to perpetuate another cycle. An orange produces orange seeds. An apple produces apple seeds. Then we look at genetic tampering. Today, the food industry is creating foods that have no seeds. They're messing up Yahweh's cycles. not a good thing to do, for more reasons than anyone can even fathom. Some say they only follow the New Testament, the renewed covenant. Yeshua did away with the Old Testament, they say. That whole idea is removing the seed from the fruit. You might say the Old Testament, the first covenant, is the seed. And the New Testament, the renewed covenant, is the fruit. Satan wants to keep everyone away from the first covenant because the end is revealed out of the beginning. Let's take a look at the book of Yaakov. What? I'm talking about the book of James. His name wasn't James. It was Jacob, or more accurately, Yaakov. James, why did they name it? I don't know, maybe because of King James. I don't know. But in the book of James, if I can find it, the HalleluYah Scriptures arranges books differently than the regular Bibles do. So I have a little tab where the table of contents is so I can cheat. I was going to 1077. It's 1177. Did you ever notice how hard it is sometimes to get to one of the little books? James, that's the book of Yaakov, chapter 3. We want to look at verse 6, which reads, "And the tongue is a fire, the world of unrighteousness. Like a forest among our members, the tongue is placed, the one defiling the entire body, and lighting on fire the course of generations, rolling from the beginning, and in the end is lit on fire itself." Fire is referring to Gehenna. And in verse 6 it mentions, in the HalleluYah Scriptures, the course of generations. Some versions say the wheel of life. No, it's talking about the cycle of life. The cycle of generations. Let's go to the book of Psalms. And we want to look at Psalm 23, verse 3. Where David says, "He turns back my being. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake." No, not paths of righteousness. The word there is ofanim, cycles. He leads me in cycles of righteousness. I want to take a look at the book of Daniel, chapter 7. Verse 25 reads, "And it speaks words against the Most High, and it wears out the Kodeshim," the dedicated ones, "of the Most High, and it intends to change appointed times and law, and they're given into its hand for a time and times and half a time." That's talking about a time, times, and half a time, 3.5 years. That's the Great Tribulation, which is in our future. But talking about changing appointed times and laws, some versions talk about changing calendars. It's talking about changing Yahweh's cycles, ofanim. And then we want to look at Jeremiah. That's Yirmiyahu, chapter 6, verse 16. "Thus said Yahweh, stand in the ways and see, and ask for the old paths where the good way is, and walk in it, and find rest for yourselves." But they said, "We do not walk in the old paths, the ancient ways, the ancient Kadam, back to the beginning, Yahweh." So when you see, you're reading the book of Ezekiel, and he's talking about these wheels, a wheel within a wheel. The Western way of thinking is focusing on appearance. Oh, you picture a wheel, and inside of that another wheel, focusing on appearance instead of function, which is kadam, the way that Yahweh thinks, back to the beginning. When you see the word wheel, skip that. Think cycles. Cycles. The Western way is linear. The Eastern way is cyclical. He's looking at cycles within cycles. He's talking about these creatures. He's trying to describe things in the spiritual realm that he had and we would have a very hard time trying to explain. But where you see the word wheels, the word there is ofanim. The singular is ofan. It shouldn't say wheel, it should say cycle. And here's the odiote. Ofan is spelled Aleph, Yod, Pei, Nun. Aleph, picture of an ox head, meaning being yoked, specifically to the Father. Hopefully to the Father. The Father being your headship, and being taught by the Father. And it also has to do with strength and power. Again, the Father's cycles. Everything in creation operates in cycles. In that is everything's strength and power. Then we go to Yod, picture of an arm and a hand. It has to do with one's works and actions. It has to do with worshiping. These cycles are the work of Elohim. Our actions are to be in harmony with his work and his plan. Pei, that's the mouth. Everything that was ever created, Elohim spoke into existence with his breath and with his words. Then we have Nun, picture of a seed. Yeshua is the good seed. Satan is the bad seed. The seed represents life, perpetuation, unstoppable motion. It represents offspring and heirs. So, Ofan, it's from Strong's number H212. Strong says that it's from an unused root, meaning to revolve. They got that part right, cycles. But then, semicolon, it says a wheel. This is bad for Western mindset because people start picturing wheels, and transportation, UFOs and flying saucers. Ofan, it's cycle. Ofanim, plural, cycles. So here, the word ofan, it's talking about Aleph, Yod, the work of the Father, things that are yoked to the Father, that are orchestrated by the Father. Pei, it's what he spoke into existence, his act of creation. Nun, the seed, again pointing at the cycle of life. A seed is planted, a blossom sprouts, fruit grows, fruit has the seed. Back to the beginning, the seed, the blossom, the fruit, the seed, the blossom, the fruit. So these wheels are talking about the Father's cycles of life. They're not talking about UFOs, my friends. And Once again, I hope and I pray that this study in the Father's Word is a beracha to you and to yours. Thank you for your support. Until next time, shalom, my friends.
Now 2,000 years have gone by, it's another working day. Some would rather let it lie, but the question still remains.